lovelies, good morning. So, I have an interesting Paris Weekly for you this week. I was talking with one of my friends recently, and she is in the process of starting her own business. And she has been kind of dealing with, just the ups and downs of starting your own business, which is definitely a roller coaster. And she was saying that sometimes she feels like she is a failure. And I told her, I said, I feel the same way sometimes. And she was kind of like, wait, what? I said, yeah, I was a lawyer. I had this career that, had a very clear path for it, had very clear, financial security, all of those things. And yet I quit. I was miserable and I couldn't do that anymore. So I quit. I left and I decided to just start over and rebuild my life. And of all places, I'm doing it in a foreign country. So it just makes it 10 times harder. And I said, and I did it all alone. And, every single month my savings dwindles and the investments dwindle, right? Because you need the money to live and whatnot. And I just told her, I said, there are definitely 100% days that I feel like I am a failure. I said, but I never allow myself to go to sleep feeling like that. I may wake up feeling like I'm a failure. I may, at some point in the day, start to feel like a failure. But one of the things I do is I never, ever, ever let myself go to sleep feeling like that, because I said it creates, or at least I think it can create, essentially this pattern of, feeling depressed. So today, I kind of woke up feeling a little bit like a failure, like I'm failing, and I don't know where and what to do and how to fix everything and, how to make everything better and perfect and whatnot. And none of those things are attainable. I know them, but, there are still moments when you feel like that. So today's edition of the Paris Weekly, I'm going to show you exactly what I do here in Paris when I am feeling like that, in order to rebuild myself and kind of make sure I don't go to bed feeling down, but instead I go to bed on a high note, and then it helps me to wake up on a high note. And my hope in doing this is that for the days when you feel like that, you can come back to this video and you can look and see some of the things that you can do to kind of make you feel better when you may not feel like you're on track or things are falling apart or whatever else. And let me be clear, in this video, the third thing that I am going to show you is probably something that you have absolutely no idea exists in Paris. You probably have never heard of it. So come with me on this day as we combat the feeling of failure and replace it with a feeling of empowerment and self-love. One of the first things I do to pull myself out of the funk is to make a really delicious meal. Today I decided I would make myself a bacon, egg, and cheese on a brioche. I finally figured out the name for American bacon in France. It's poitrine, and the cheese is cheddar. This was so good. Now let's move on to our next step: exercise. So next stop in our de-stressing experience and making ourselves comfy up is the gym. I have to go to the gym, but let me tell you, boxing time. To quote Elle Woods in Legally Blonde, exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. So I want to be really, really clear that one of the number one things that I do not do on days when I'm feeling kind of down and like I'm falling apart is go buy anything. Frankly, I don't spend any dagnabbit money on those days, because otherwise what happens is it kind of creates this relationship whereby you associate going out and shopping or going out and buying something, having a coffee, whatever, with feeling better. And then that's how you end up broke. So I actually, as my number one rule, is when I'm feeling kind of down and like I'm not, really succeeding, I don't buy anything. Instead, I do things like work out and I go spend time in nature. And now I'm going to take you to some place that I guarantee you no one has ever taken you. in a YouTube video. Hello and welcome to Le Vert. Le Vert is the Paris High Line. If you don't know what the High Line is, it's in New York, and you have probably never been here in a video before. Coming to Le Vert is one of the things I do whenever I am feeling down, whenever I am feeling like I'm a failure. I come out here and I basically walk the Vert. It is essentially a garden path that is raised above the ground. So I am going to take you through. It is a beautiful walk. It's springtime. And something about being in nature really just makes me feel alive and energized when I'm feeling down. So let's get doing it. La Coulee Verte, also known as the Planted Promenade, is an old railway line which ran through eastern Paris. Created in 1988, it has been entirely pedestrianized and converted into a succession of gardens. Partially above ground on an old viaduct, partially underground, this walk extends from the Bastille to the Bois de Vincent. In 1989, the city of Paris also revamped the 71 arches of the viaduct, which are located directly underneath La Coulee Verte. These arches are known as the Viaduct des Arts, and they serve as art space for Parisian artists. There are multiple entrances along the Coulee Verte, as well as elevators to allow people with mobility issues to be able to access the space. There are also public toilets along the route, as well as plenty of benches and other spaces for you to simply sit or stand and enjoy the view. Running is tolerated, but this is really a pedestrian space. This video, though, does not do this space justice, as you're missing out on the smell of the fresh air and blooming trees. Okay, so that is the end of my walk. I am going to head home now because the sun's starting to set. I want to get home to my juju and then also just want to relax a bit. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed getting to see kind of what I do when I am personally feeling a bit overwhelmed and I'm feeling a little bit like I'm failing. This is really how I basically build myself up again, so that I can go to bed feeling energized, rejuvenated, and refreshed, and then wake up tomorrow with a positive attitude and get back on my hustle, but a good hustle. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please share in the comments what you do when you start to feel that way, or if you have ever felt that way, share kind of what you did, because I think it will definitely help a lot of people and even me. So thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay safe, and enjoy a little bit more of Le Coulee Verte. Au revoir.